I woke up at 2 a.m. and reached to my left. Cold sheets. For a second, my heart jumped like I'd missed something important. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the fridge and distant traffic. That's when it hit me. She hadn't slept here in weeks. It's strange how your body remembers before your mind accepts. Her name is Aisha. She was 25 when we met. I was 27, still trying to figure out who I was outside of my job and my rent payments. I used to think loneliness was loud, like empty rooms and silent phones. But the truth is, loneliness can sit quietly next to you while you scroll through your contacts pretending you don't want to call anyone. We met in a bookstore cafe downtown. Not the aesthetic kind people post online. This one had uneven shelves and a coffee machine that made angry noises. I used to go there on Sunday evenings just to avoid going home too early. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor in the travel section, surrounded by open guidebooks like she was building a small paper fort. "Are you moving in?" I asked. She looked up, smiled without embarrassment. "Trying to decide where I'll live next year." "Next year?" "Yeah, I don't stay in one place too long." That should have told me everything. But I didn't hear warning. I heard mystery. We talked about cities we'd never been to, about the difference between visiting somewhere and belonging somewhere. She drank tea. I drank coffee. She laughed easily. I didn't, but I wanted to. There was nothing dramatic about that first conversation. No instant sparks. Just comfort, the kind that sneaks up on you. At the time, I was coming home to an apartment that felt like storage for my existence. Work, gym, sleep, repeat. My friends were either engaged or moving abroad. I was steady, stable, and quietly empty. When she asked, "Do you ever feel like you're waiting for your life to start?" I didn't answer right away. "Yeah," I finally said. "All the time." That was the first moment I felt seen. We didn't exchange numbers immediately. We ran into each other again the following week. Same cafe, same corner. This time she saved me a seat without asking. "Thought you might show up," she said casually. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. It makes you show up twice. And that night, walking home, I realized something had shifted. My apartment didn't feel as heavy. I didn't know it then, but that was the beginning of my favorite realistic love story and my most painful romantic breakup story. I just didn't know timing was already ticking. We didn't fall fast. We folded into each other slowly. Scene 1. We cooked dinner at her place. She burned the onions because she was explaining why she hated office jobs. I pretended not to notice the smoke until she laughed and opened every window. Scene 2. A random Tuesday when my car wouldn't start. I was frustrated, pacing. She showed up with coffee and said, "You look dramatic when you're stressed." Then she sat on the curb with me like it was a picnic. Scene 3. We built a playlist for long drives we hadn't planned yet. She added songs in different languages. I added old tracks from college. We argued about nothing important. Routine formed quietly. Sunday grocery runs. Wednesday takeout. Morning text that said, "Did you sleep okay?" Without fail. One night, lying on her couch, she traced circles on my wrist and asked, "What scares you the most?" I hesitated. Waking up at 40 and realizing it never really lived, I said. She nodded like she understood. "My fear," she whispered. "Staying somewhere too long and losing myself." It was subtle. That difference. I wanted roots. She wanted wings. But love makes you believe differences are interesting instead of important. We weren't dramatic. We were soft. It felt like an emotional love story built on shared silences and quiet laughter. Still, sometimes when she talked about next year or the next city, something tightened in my chest. I ignored it, because when someone feels like the right person wrong time, you convince yourself time can adjust. It started with small comments. "I might apply for a program abroad," she said one evening, casually. "How long?" I asked. 2 years. Maybe more. I tried to keep my voice steady. "That's far." "It's exciting," she said, but softer. We didn't argue. There was no yelling, just a shift. I began overthinking everything. When she was quiet, I wondered if she was already leaving mentally. When she smiled at travel ads, I felt irrationally replaced. Silence got heavier. We still had dinner, still watched shows. But sometimes our conversations felt like they were walking on careful ground. I started imagining futures where she wasn't there. That scared me more than the idea of her leaving. She noticed. "You've been somewhere else lately," she said. "I'm here." Not fully. She wasn't wrong. Growing apart doesn't happen loudly. It's subtle. It's the space between two people on the same couch. And I could feel relationship timing becoming the thing we didn't want to name. The email came on a Thursday. She got accepted. Full scholarship. Overseas. 1 year minimum. Possible extension. She read it twice. I watched her face instead of the screen. Her eyes were bright, but her shoulders were tense. "This is big," I said. "Yeah." Silence. "You should go," I added, because loving someone means not shrinking their world. "And us?" she asked quietly. I swallowed. "We'll figure it out." But we both knew long distance wasn't just geography. It was lifestyle. She wanted movement. I wanted stability. Not because I lacked ambition, but because I wanted to build something steady. That night, we sat on her balcony. "No dramatic speeches." "Do you ever think," she began, "that maybe we met at the wrong time?" I didn't answer, because if I said yes, it would become real. The wind moved through her hair. We didn't hold hands, and that quiet pause felt louder than any fight. After she left, text became shorter. "Busy day. Talk later. Miss you. Call tomorrow." Tomorrow came with missed calls. Time zones made everything heavier. We acted normal. Sent photos. Shared small updates. But something was thinning. One night, we video called while cooking dinner separately. For a moment, it felt almost normal. She laughed at something I said. I felt that familiar warmth. Then the call glitched. Her face froze mid-smile, and I realized I was holding on to pixels. I typed a message later. "Are we still okay?" I stared at it. Deleted it. Sent. "Hope you're sleeping well." That unsent message said more than the sent one ever could. We weren't angry. We were just drifting. Letting go with love is quiet like that. She came back 6 months later for a short visit. We met at our old bookstore cafe first. It felt smaller. The real conversation happened on my balcony. No jitting. No acquiescence. She leaned against the railing. I stood across from her. "I don't want to hold you back," I said. "You're not. But you hesitate when you talk about staying." She looked down. "Because I don't know if I'm meant to." I nodded slowly. "I love you," she added, voice steady. "I know." Silence. "And I think that's why this is so hard," she said. "Because nothing is wrong." That sentence broke me more than anything. This was a mature breakup. No vidin. No betrayal. Just two people acknowledging relationship timing. "I don't want us to resent each other later," I said. "Me neither." We stood there, not touching. "So this is it?" she asked softly. I took a breath that felt like glass. "Yeah." No dramatic ending. No door slamming. She walked out with a small bag, and I stood there realizing love isn't always enough. That was it. It's been a year. I still wake up at 2 a.m. sometimes. But now the bed just feels like a bed. I've traveled a little. Not far. Just enough to understand that movement doesn't always mean escape. I don't regret us. It was a realistic love story. A right person, wrong time kind of love. The kind that teaches you without destroying you. I learned that growing apart isn't failure. It's honesty. I learned that letting go with love hurts more than anger ever could. And I learned that relationship timing matters just as much as connection. Sometimes I think about texting her. I don't, because some stories are meant to stay complete. And if love is real, it doesn't need to be held onto the matter. Some people aren't meant to stay. They're meant to shape you before they go.